Hello and welcome back. This is the Great Living Sources YouTube channel. I'm Jill Snodgrass, and I'm going to be trying something different for the next couple of videos or so, just to see. And talking to some of my friends, a lot of them have a hard time even spending 30 minutes on a YouTube video. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to make the YouTube. I'm still trying to stick within my 30-minute time frame, but what I'm going to try to do is break them up into 10-minute segments and then create like a part 1, 2, 3 of each of the videos. So hopefully that will allow those who have, time crunches, maybe be able to view the entire video in the segments in the time that they have. Okay, so it's been a while. I mean, I talk about planning a bit in a lot of my videos. I don't know that I've actually talked about creating a plan. So what I'm going to do in this video is try to go through some of the notes that I have taken or that I have for my classes that I give in dealing or in understanding why you need a plan and how to create a plan. Okay. I'm also going to talk about why the plan is important because a lot of times we see things when we put things on the back burner, okay? And I know time is not our friend. It's never been my friend, especially in the military when we're doing military planning. 5 minutes and I've got to brief a general on some chunk of terrain because we have an operation going down. So time is never our friend, but there are some things that we need to make the time to do, and this is one of those things. Okay, my friend E. Gonzalez is she's doing a segment on being ready, being prepared, and part of that is to have a plan. And she's doing a little bit. She's doing more of the things that you need to do to fix yourself to get ready. This is going to be geared specifically to actually creating the plan and why that plan is important. Okay, so I'm going to be looking at my computer screen on the side. I have a different computer in which I do things on. So you're going to have to kind of bear with me, but I want to put this together logically, sequentially, and methodically, just as the class would be. Okay, to a degree. Slides, if you are interested in some of the information, contact me, let me know. I'd be happy to send you some of this stuff. Some of the things are listed in the comments. You can get a hold of me by contacting me at Great Living Sources, or you can message me or drop me a comment, however you want to do it. I do ask that if you have a chance to please like and subscribe to my videos. Hopefully that will get the videos out to other folks so that they can get the same information that you're getting, okay? So one of the things about emergencies, whether it's a natural disaster, a human influenced disaster, something else, the one thing they have in common is they don't care. They don't care if you're ready or not. They're going to hit you whether you are or not. So that's why it's wise to have a plan so that you are ready when these things happen. Now, I don't know about any of you, but I know for myself, if I'm going into an area that I don't know, or even if I do know, I'm going to look at the roads and plan this route out. That's the same thing that you should be doing with a readiness plan. That's what the readiness plan is for. Just like a business has a business plan, you need to have a readiness plan, or whatever you want to call it, but you need to have a plan, because what you're getting ready to do is to take a journey. And that journey is going to take you to a place in which there's safety and you know that you're going to be protected, at least as much as we can be protected from most of the things that happen here. So we're going to lay out everything that you need to know and need to understand in order to get ready for whatever the emergency is, okay? The thing that the plan does is it helps to minimize the potential damage and effect that a disaster may have. So what do I mean by that? When we get into this, we're going to talk about actions that we need to take before, during, and after an event. Those actions before include safety precautions that will help to minimize the potential risks to life and limb during an event or after the event, okay? So the thing that we're going to focus on will be facts, creating a readiness plan, what information should be included in this plan, what actions to be taken, and when they need to be taken, as we just said. There's actions that we want to take before, during, and after. And then we're going to have a contact information and a household information group, okay? So the purpose of the plan is to provide detailed instructions to you or to those that you care about. This is a living document. In other words, this is not something that's going to be created and then put in some kind of a last case that says break in case of an emergency. It's something that you need to rehearse. And, you know, as we talked about at the very beginning of this video, time is not our friend. But I submit that when it comes to something that's important to you, you're going to find the time. You know, if your children need to go to karate class or taekwondo or basketball or football or swimming or whatever, you're going to find the time in order to get them to that class or that lesson or that event, whatever, you know, if it could be some kind of meet or something. So if you can find the time for that, and that's important, then how much more important is that child's well-being in an emergency? Because in an emergency, most people are going to spaz, okay? There's a lot of fear, a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety that's going to occur during an emergency, whether it's a natural disaster or whatever crisis. In order to help reduce that stress level and to help you to be able to use your prefrontal cortex, that is going to allow you to make those rational decisions, we need to be as ready as we can so that the anxiety level doesn't shut this higher reasoning part of your brain off. The one thing that this plan should be too is it should be confidential. In other words, your personal plan should be just that, the personal plan. Now, if you're a business, that plan should probably be shared with your employees and stuff. But your personal plan, what you're going to do as a family or as a group, needs to be as confidential and top secret as, you know, aliens were back in the 30s. It needs to be it is only for those you trust, because this plan is going to have and should lay out everything that you're going to be doing, okay? What your resources are, what your skills are, etc. Everything is going to be in this plan. So share it only with those that you're confident in. When we do a plan here, you know, like I said, I've done, I guess, over 35 years worth of government work and stuff. And, you know, I've learned the necessity of some things being kept a secret. at least for a certain period of time. So I do not share any of the plans that I've done with it for anybody personally with anybody else, other than the person who requested that from me, because it's not my decision on who this plan should be shared with. Okay, that is the person that's requesting or creating this plan. All right. The information in this readiness plan should be very detailed, and what it should do is it should be exactly everything that everybody should do by name or by a position that is in their or actions that they should take before, during, and after. Okay, depending on how many people you have, depending on how you want to lay it out, you can lay out based on positions. You know, somebody's going to be in charge of security, so the people who are part of the security defense will be doing XYZ. Those that are doing, kitchen stuff, cooking, cleaning, that kind of thing, this is what they will do and how they will do stuff. This is the things that you should bring with you if you have to bug out and we got to go to a different location. These are the things that you need to bring with you. So those all need to be laid out in this plan. All right. A couple other things that should be in there is if you're going to bug out, where you're going to go, where is the site that you're going to link up? Is it going to be one of your houses? Is it going to be somewhere that's central to everybody? Where they're going to go? Again, as what we talked about, what they should bring, and then what is the anticipated duration? Depending on the event could be a few days or rest of your life. Who knows? But you should be able to figure that out or kind of think that through and decide what that duration is going to be, because that's going to anticipate, or that's going to figure in later to the kinds of things that you're going to need to bring with you. It's also going to determine, are you going to have to start to take care of your own food, okay? Or you can make your own clothes and all that stuff. So that all factors into this, okay? It's also going to need to include what skills everybody's going to need, okay? So you need to make a list of all the skills that you anticipate that you would need in order to get through a specific event, okay? I was talking with another friend yesterday, which is kind of what led me into trying to break these videos up into 10-minute segments. But let's assume an event happens. And we'll take a kind of a simpler one, snowstorm. So snowstorm is going to occur. It occurs, it drops, 2 feet of snow, so you're not going nowhere for a while. So how much time are you going to need in order to make it through a snowstorm? Okay. Now, things that could potentially happen in addition to that. So the snowstorm is the actual event. Okay. So the trigger is it starts to snow. And the trigger may then be, it may be, that's when your plan's going to start. So that's when you're going to start thinking about what it is that you're going to need to do in order to be ready if this snowstorm gets bad. So, after the snow gets to be a foot or so, you're pretty much stuck in place. So think about that. And if the other thing with that trigger is if it starts to snow or snow is in the forecast and you're going to be traveling someplace for work, that's going to be the trigger for you to start to try to get back home. Don't wait till you get 2 feet of snow and then try to get home. Probably ain't going to work too well for you. Okay. One of the things that always cracks me up. So, and I've talked about this before, and if you've ever talked to me, you've heard me say this. So, in certain locations, and I pick on Atlanta a lot. But when I was stationed in Atlanta, if there was a snowflake in the forecast, it didn't have to be any snow, just a snowflake. You couldn't buy a carton of milk or a carton of eggs, a carton of milk, or a loaf of bread within 1,000 miles of Atlanta, Georgia. And that seems to be pretty much the case pretty much everywhere. So what that tells me is that everybody that goes to buy this stuff was not ready. Okay, because if you're ready, you shouldn't be having to go to the store. Okay, it should already be there. You should have already anticipated all this and already have everything. So you shouldn't really have to go anywhere if something happens, right? That's kind of my philosophy. So I guess if this event happens the day you're going to the store, yeah, okay, you can go get some stuff. But really, in honesty, if you are ready and something happens, you shouldn't have to go to the store because it already should be there. All right. Same is true with a hurricane. And I mean, people who live in those areas where hurricanes are most, where the areas that are susceptible to hurricanes, they should already have that material on hand. Okay. You know, people go out and buy plywood, generators, gasoline, whatever. Folks, you know that those things are going to come. So why wait till the actual event? You know, buy a little bit at a time, store it up in a, you know, some kind of a shed or something, or, you know, rent a storage facility. You shouldn't have to be running out and buying this stuff just as the event occurs. Now, I know money can be a problem. I know space can be a problem. But just like with everything else, it's all about what you think is important. And if it's important enough to you, then you should be able to figure out a way to fix this. Okay? If you need suggestions, give us a holler. You know, shoot us an email. We'll be glad to help you. I can't help you with the money part, but I can help you with ideas on storing stuff. You know, what kinds of things that you're going to need. Those are the things that I can help with. All right. So it should also include what kinds of skills that you already have. Okay. So make a list of all the skills, whether it's, you know, your family or if you're going to have a group, what the skills that the group have, and then compare those to what you think you're going to need, and then you determine the delta, which we'll talk about here shortly. Okay, so what are some of the types of disasters and stuff that we could face? Okay, so disasters I break down into two categories: natural and human influenced. Okay, there's some that are kind of in the gray area. So some natural disasters that potentially fire, flood, earthquake, hurricane/tornado, snowstorm, avalanche, drought, and there are others. Okay, so those are just some of the examples. Those are things that, you know, in theory, are brought about by weather, the nature of the climate in which we live in. Human influenced events would be terrorism, cyber attack, riots, nuclear explosions, forest fires, biological attacks and accidents, chemical attacks and accidents. Now, forest fires could be a natural disaster as well. If lightning strikes and it's been powder dry for, you know, a couple of months, then that could be a natural event, a natural forest fire. But about 90% of the forest fires that the United States faces are because of human influence. Somebody flicked the cigarette out the window and it's hot and dry, it sets the stuff on fire. Somebody leaves a campfire burning and doesn't put the fire out. That's a human influenced event. Okay, um, so the first question that you need to ask yourself: what is the event that causes you the greatest concern? Or another way to put that is, what event are you the most concerned with? What keeps you awake at night? Okay, whatever that is, that's the event that this plan should be for first. Okay, now once you have a plan, there are parts of that plan that may be able to be transferred into other events. Okay, but focus only on one event, and whatever that event is, it should be the one that is of the greatest concern to you or your family. Um, my philosophy is to plan for the worst and pray for the best. So I always, whatever the worst potential outcome of an event is what I consider. Okay, so we'll use the snowstorm scenario and for this as well. So gotta love coffee. So a snowstorm. All right, so I have had 2 to 3 weeks worth of food. Okay, so what is the worst possible thing that could happen? All right, so the worst possible thing is, first off, that I get enough snow that prevents me from being able to get out to resupply. Okay. Um, Now, assuming that I have, well, first off, so second thing is, I lose power. Okay, because if I lose power, then I lose a lot of other things. I lose often the time to, or the ability to heat or cook. I'm going to lose water. Um, so that means I won't be able to clean, shower, drink. Um, so let's assume that I have a secondary source. So I have like propane, gas, something, even a generator. Okay, so if, if those supplies run out and the storm is still continuing, then what am I going to do? Okay, if I only have 2 weeks worth of stuff, um, this is where things start to get crazy because you know, um, yes, you can get into a rabbit hole that is crazy. But you really need to realistically think through what are the potentials that can do. So in a snowstorm, one of the very real possibilities is that you will lose electricity. Okay, depending on how bad that snowstorm is, if you get more than 24 inches worth of snow, it's going to be a while before that stuff gets moved. If you get significantly more amounts than that, um, say 30 to 40 inches of snow, you're going to be stuck for at least a week or two. Easy. Okay. Now, another very real event that is a potential, especially today, is um, a trucker strike. Because there's a lot of talk about the truckers going on strike, or the independent truckers going on strike. Um, Supposedly in April, I think, is what they're shooting for right now. That's the last word I got. So if this happens, this snowstorm happens anywhere in that April timeframe, now not only do you not have, or not do you not only have snow, but you also have the potential that stores themselves will not be able to be resupplied. If a snowstorm is forecasted, you can almost bet that store shelves are going to be wiped out before that snowstorm happens. Okay. If on top of that, you also then get this trucker strike, um, or this snowstorm impacts distribution centers and they're not able to get this done. And it's potentially going to be even longer, even once the snow is cleared, for stores will be able to get resupplied, which then would allow you to resupply. Okay. So, so those are some things that can really happen that can really impact you. And if you only have 2 weeks worth of food, what are you going to do? Um, you know, that's why for almost any natural event or natural disaster, I recommend that you have at least 2 months worth of stuff on hand in your house. Okay. And, we'll talk about some of these things, but I want to make sure that I get some of this stuff out. Um, if, if, um, if you don't have the 2 months worth of stuff, how do you get there? Well, you buy a little more every time you go to the store. You don't go out and buy 6 months worth of food. Okay. The ultimate goal would be to have at least a year's worth of supplies. Okay. Because if a really significant event occurs, then having this additional um, resources is going to help you. So let's talk for a moment about why do you buy the supplies? What is the purpose of these supplies? Supplies give you a buffer for you have to do this on your own. Okay. In most cases, we have the event, it goes through, and eventually we return back to quote unquote normal. That means the distribution chain works. People are able to resupply the grocery stores and the hardware stores and the Lowe's and the Home Depots and all these things. And you then can go to these retail outlets and are able to purchase stuff. Okay, so basically you can resupply and things go back to the way they were before. Thing is, in the event that something happens that is a very long duration, okay, so like you get into a stuff has hit the fan kind of scenario, or the end of the world as you know it kind of scenario, at some point you will have to start to take care of yourself. You're going to have to become self-reliant. That means you are going to have to either grow your own food, make your own stuff, clothes, tools, cooking utensils, eating utensils, furniture, shelters. All of that stuff is stuff that you're going to have to potentially build yourself, or you're going to have to barter with somebody in order to get it. And I've talked about this before. Me and clothes, can make them, but they ain't going to be pretty. There are people out there who can make them and make them look pretty. So, for me, I'm the growing kind of guy. I can build the shelters. I can grow food. I can hunt. I can raise food. So I would trade that stuff for clothes and for footwear. Because and that's why I say one person can't be everything. They can, and there are exceptions, but typically that's not the case. Okay, and when you're foraging, it takes a lot of acreage in order to forage your own food. Okay, whether it's hunting, picking berries, whatever. Now, in the case of this snowstorm, it's winter. So that means that, food isn't growing out naturally in the woods. The trees have all lost their fruits and nuts and stuff. The berries and other things are usually not there. Some of the root type stuff like wild garlic, wild carrots and stuff, you still might be able to get, but because it's winter, it's typically cold, and the ground is frozen. So getting to those items is going to be difficult. So, a snowstorm is not something to be taken lightly because, as I said, it's also typically cold, and if the power is out, then most people who have furnaces won't have heat. Now, if you've got a fireplace or other backup supplies or backup sources of heat, then you're going to be able to extend that time for at least a while. You have to, like I said, you have to do this one at a time. Okay, you have to do it slow. You just can't go out and purchase. I mean, I guess you can. I'm not rich enough, and most of the folks that I know aren't rich enough to just go out and buy several thousands or millions of dollars worth of supplies and gear and all this stuff to be able to get through it. That doesn't mean that we have to give up trying. Okay, so whatever the event is that you are planning for, this is the event that you need to, or whatever your greatest concern, that's the event that you should start to plan for first. Okay, so now we're going to get into the facts. Now, once we have identified what the event is, now we're going to collect facts about the area. Now, the facts are exactly that. They're facts, not I think, I guess, well, this is a fact, and facts are typically the geophysical area in which you are and the society and economic and energy things that are around you. Okay, so first thing that we're going to talk about is the geography. What is, where are you geographically located? In your plan, you can also place, either an address or the spatial coordinate to that location. Okay. Excuse me. The other thing that you want to consider is what kinds of things are around you. Are you near industrial plants? Are you near fertilizer plants? Are you near sewer plants? Are you near fertilizer plants, chemical plants? Anything that can potentially cause additional secondary, tertiary types of disasters, effects. If something happens, if you're like near a nuclear plant and the power goes out, is that going to be a problem? Yeah, it could be. So another one would be like petroleum plants. Petroleum plants typically have storage tanks of oil and gas, which are flammable. So those can become potential hazards to your health, okay, or to your safety. So now the next thing is water. What types of water resources do you have around you? Is there a lake, a stream, a creek, a spring, a well? What is the water situation around you? And then is that water potable? In other words, can I drink it? If I have a pond, but it's a stagnant pond, it may not be something that you want to drink. Okay, so water. Now, this is not water that you have purchased and stored. This is water, actual natural water resources. Like I said, ponds, streams, lakes, rivers, whatever. What is the soil that's around there? Is the soil, silty clay? Now, there are sites that you can go to and that I use. USGS has a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of different sites that you can get this information from. So like I said, if you're looking for these things and need to contact me and I will help you to get that information. Okay. The other thing that you want to consider, and it kind of ties in with slope as well as the soil, but is the area that you are in, is it susceptible to mudslides or avalanches? Do you have like cliffs with rocks near your location? If so, where are they, and are they able to cut you off from the outside world? Okay. Again, we have the slope. Slope also, what's the slope in the area? If it's flat, is it susceptible to flooding? If it's hilly, it could also be susceptible to flooding. That town, Ellicott City in Maryland, The town is built at the bottom of, like in the valley of two fairly significant hills, which means that all of the water that falls on it runs down the hill and runs into the city. And it's had two, like, 100 or 1,000-year floods within the last 2 or 3 years. Okay, me, that means that you should probably think of someplace else to seek refuge in. Vegetation. What's the vegetation around you? Is there a lot of trees? Is there a lot of what we call weeds, but weeds that can be edible? Queen Anne's lace is basically a wild carrot. There's what I call wild onions, which I don't know, they may be more like chives. But there's also wild garlic. Is there blueberries, blackberries? The trees coniferous or deciduous? That means, are they like pine trees or are they like oaks and hickories, hardwoods? All of these are going to be indicators as to how well food will grow in that region, okay, and what types of food will grow in that region. Drainage. What is the drainage pattern on the site? The drainage pattern, and you can look it up. There's about 5 different types of drainage patterns, and the drainage patterns give you an indication of what is under the surface of that, what beyond the soil. It's the geological outlay. Dendritic patterns basically look kind of like a tree where the streams kind of run together and create like a tree limb shape pattern, and those are indicators of kind of a uniform types of soil. Radial patterns means that there's some geological features under there. The radial pattern is actually a pattern that indicates previous volcanoes. Okay. There's also rectangle, which means there's potential faults under the ground. All of these things are going to be indicators that we're going to use to determine how safe the location that we are in really is. Okay. And one of the biggest things is, again, how well will this area drain? Is it going to be prone to flooding? So the other thing are, what are the human structures that are around you? And again, we're looking for the different types of hazards that potential. But these features are also include roads. What types of roads are on the site in which you are? The trails, are they paved, meaning all-weather hard surface roads? What roads lead up to the property? How many roads lead up to the property? Okay. Some of this is going to come into play when we get into the security aspects of this. The ability to analyze a person that potentially means to do you harm. Okay. The other aspect is, what are the railroads? Are there railroads near you? Railroads also have potential to impact your safety because of the cargoes that are carried on the railroads. A lot of the radiological nuclear site waste is transported by rail, and a lot of chemicals are transported by rail as well. So all of these things are additional potential hazards that you may have to face and that you need to be aware of. Okay. Then how well maintained are these roads, and then who does the maintaining? The other possible structures, what dams, windmills, oil or gas wells are in the area. I know in West Virginia, because I was looking for property in there at one time, years and years ago, the mineral rights for all of the West Virginia was sold. And there's a lot of properties that actually have oil and gas wells that gives a easement to basically anybody that's coming up to the well. Um, that's something that I wasn't too keen on. Additionally, those can be potential hazards. If those are not maintained, um, will that stuff start to escape out? And if so, is it going to start, it's going to catch fire. So these are all things that you need to be cognizant of. Now, right now, all we're doing is gathering the facts. So are there oil wells on the property, gas wells on the property? Yes. Where are they located? You need to know that location. You need to create a map that has this eventually. We'll talk about that in a little bit later. Now, what is the weather for the area in which you are? What's the site? And this, you can get from the internet. It will tell you what types of climate is typically in that location. Weather has an impact on what natural disasters that you potentially could have: snowstorms, floods, rain, etc., tornadoes, hurricanes. It also has to do with what you'll be able to grow on that location. If you get an adequate amount of supply of water, then you can pretty much grow whatever you want. So now the other thing is that we're going to talk about, or we're going to get facts on, and I usually go to citydata.com for this, or city-data.com, I think is actually what it is. You're going to want to look at what the population is around you, what types of people are there, what are their beliefs. This has to do with the types of people and the potential of those people coming around during a disaster looking for supplies because they weren't ready. The other thing is, and in some cases, in some areas, you have a lot of gangs that have moved into different areas. And that's a potential threat to you as well. Okay, so you need to know what's going on around your community before this happens, or before something happens. What's the economy in the area in which you are? If there's a lot of folks that are either well-to-do, or if they're, more towards the poverty line, they may not have been able to get ready. The ones that are, well-to-do, probably won't know what to do when something happens, and they probably didn't take the time to get ready. So when these people start to get desperate, they're going to start looking for resources. You may be the resource that they're looking for. Okay. Some of the other things are, who is the major employer in the area? If something happens to, pick up in Detroit for a long time, they had a lot of folks in the, car industry was the biggest thing. Then when the car bubble bust, then a lot of people were out of work, a lot of problems started. Same can be true here. I know in some of the, like Kentucky and West Virginia, coal mines were the big thing. And then when coal was no longer the biggest industry, or the coal ran out, a lot of people were unemployed. So a lot of these things can come into play later on when we're doing our plan, depending on what the plan is covering. What type of energy is on site? So this is what do you have? Do you have what I call shore power? Basically, you're getting power from an electric company, and then if something happens, you're out of luck. So then what do you have as backups to that power? Do you have solar? Do you have wind? Do you have backup generators? All of these things, and it's a fact. So it's fact, you either have it or you don't have it. Okay. Now, the stuff that is there for you, you can change, but right now, whatever is at this moment is what you have, okay? Don't put something that you don't have yet, okay? Again, remember, we're gathering facts, not what we think we should have, okay? Um, if you're using shore power, how often is that power out? And a lot of times you can go to these companies and you can find out what their outage percentage is, and find out how reliable that power is. Okay. What is the communication on and off the site? So what, do you have a landline telephone? Are you using only cell phones? So what cell towers and how well is that service? You have, internet connectivity. If so, how reliable is that? Okay. Again, fact. This is what you have, not what you're going to have. So I'm going to pause here because we've basically gone through all of the different types of facts that we need in order to start this plan. And I'm going to break this video down into some 10-minute segments so that people will be able to spend 10 minutes at different times. So hopefully this will work out. We'll see what happens. We'll pick up tomorrow on, starting to assemble some of these things and see how that works out. But, again, please like and share this channel. Subscribe so that, as we put these out, you get the notifications. Just let us know what you think about this. I really want to know what you think of the videos. How can we improve them? I can tell you right now, I can't improve my looks. I'm as beautiful as I'm going to get. My lighting is my lighting. I only have, so much resources available to me as well. Since I moved to Kentucky, it seems that the clouds have taken over. So for the most part, the light that you see coming from this window is about the most that I ever get. So those things I can't fix. But if the content, the way I talk, the way I do, I realize I probably move a lot because I'm not one of those ones that can sit still. 57 years old now, and it hasn't happened yet, so the odds that it happens in the next 50 to 100 years is probably not going to change. So, I apologize if that's a distractor, but that's just kind of the way it is. But if there's content or the way that I present the content, let me know and I will work on that. That's something that I can fix. If you have, you come across different links and websites and stuff that you think are relevant to the content that we're talking, by all means, go ahead and add them in the comments as well. The purpose of this channel is to help folks to be ready. I'm not looking to get rich off of this thing. In fact, I don't make anything right now. But I want folks to be ready. I want the stuff that they're looking at to be relevant to them, to be helpful to them. Okay? So leave us a comment in the comments below. You can go to the website, as I've said, greatlivingsources.com. There's a comment section there that you can leave comments with. You can shoot me an email, hi@greatlivingsources.com. I try to answer every email that I get. Sometimes the comments and the emails get hidden from me, and I have to try to figure out where they are. And it takes me a little while to get to them sometimes, but I will, I promise, answer every email or comment. So my biggest thing is, please, to stay safe, get ready, work on getting at least 2 months worth of supplies, and your ultimate goal is to get a year's worth of stuff stored up. It's the task that I assign you. So let me know, and you guys take care, and remember the core comp. Thank you.